Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining Signals and Symptoms podcast with our co-host Edward Marks and my bestie. Harvey is trying to join. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it, but we are going to go live as we go ahead with this. First of all, I'm so grateful that Agatha is joining us all the way from Switzerland. She's a clinical AI scientist at Roche. And her claim to fame is that, by the way, first of all, you should absolutely follow her on LinkedIn. Her posts are very educational and amazing. She has been working as a senior clinical imaging data scientist. And one of the things that I love about her posts is this one. And this is something that I want to bring it up to everyone's mind is because what clinical eye should start with is basically the decision, not the model. And what is the wrong way and what is the better way. And of course, if you are following her, she's going to tell you exactly through her featured post. If you go into her featured post, this one specifically is amazing, that the role that will shape the future of healthcare AI. And that's where she talks about basically a 5-star clinical grade AI person, which understands imaging, pharma, healthcare ownerships, AI validations, digital biomarkers, and clinical data scientists. And essentially, that what we have been talking about, the march towards precision medicine is not going to be filled by one person. But
Junaid,
her expertise, hello,
Junaid, are you sharing your screen?
I am.
There we go. Yeah, because you were referencing that article.
Oh, are you able to see
Yeah, now we
again
can.
or no?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
now
I'm
we can.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is amazing that what she puts together is what I understand is the true future of medicine. And then, of course, one more thing. Clearly, she's from Switzerland, gives us an international perspective of the march towards precision medicine as compared to US as well. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your education. I've learned a lot, so I want to personally thank you for that. And then moving forward, I apologize for a broken introduction. I would love to give us a proper long form introduction in the sense that why you go through this, and clearly it's useful to people. If you were wondering ever, so and then secondly, we're gonna start with Ed questioning, and then we're gonna basically step back and understand what we achieved till 2026 and what do we see in 2030. So thank you again for coming.
yeah. Thank you for having me today. Yeah, I'm medically imaging data scientist. Oh my God, I can hear all the time this echo. Hmm. Yeah, one more. I'm medical imaging data scientist.
So now you're getting the echo.
Yeah, all the time I'm having echo.
I think why don't you join again? We can take a break. We're gonna talk about Ed's dog in the meanwhile.
Yeah. I'm
Let's,
surprised Ayla hasn't jumped out of the
Yeah,
bedroom
that's
yet.
okay. It happens.
yeah, let's do that. Sorry for this.
No worries, no worries. Take a minute.
Yeah, so Harvey did come on a little bit earlier and he says hello to everyone. And
Oh,
he's taking care of a couple things. He hopes to join us a little bit later. I told him he should take us with him live. I can't tell you what he's doing because, don't want to violate anything, but it's all good. But I was like, you should take us in with you live. Hopefully he'll pop in a little bit later.
Yeah, right now this is fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
right now it's working. Yeah, because I was surprised. I joined and I was talking with another guy and it was okay. And then Ed joined, it was okay. And then you joined and something happens. And
It's all Junaid's. It's all
yeah, it is.
Junaid's
It is
fault.
actually my computer, FYI.
FYI.
So I'm gonna stop less talking, and Ed can continue today.
or you can make mute then when you don't talk that because it's kind of yeah, confusing. Yeah, then let's start. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for the invitation. I'm medical imaging data scientist, data engineer. Um, And yeah, I have a background in biomedical engineering, medical informatics, and medical imaging. Recently, I have worked at the intersection of medical imaging, AI, oncology clinical trials, data infrastructure and data engineering, and biomarker development as well. During my work at pharma, I have been working mostly on development AI-driven solutions, mostly focused on imaging, but not only, also clinical data and other data modalities to support decision making and get more insights in early phase clinical trials in oncology. But my work was not really limited to this, not only. A huge part of my work was make data set, mostly imaging data, actually ready, usable to develop any AI solutions. And yeah, a huge, very tedious work, which is actually very relevant after to develop any solutions. And that experience actually shaped one of my strongest conviction that AI alone is very rarely the real breakthrough. The breakthrough happens when the right data, the right model, the workflow, the validation, and the clinical decisions are all well connected together. And that is the difference between very interesting, very good technical results and something that can really support and contribute to drug development, clinical research, and at the end make an impact on patient care.
Absolutely well said. And then this is again what we brought into the system. And honestly, at some point in time, I'm going to show you during this presentation the three steps that she talked about: data cleaning, basically curation of data for training, and then which is a big step because that's exactly what delivers to the end goal of what you're trying to do. I'm going to start with the first question, Agata, and that is what your post is all about. Should start with the decision. And how do you define a decision in your own words so that everyone understands that what you said, the difference between the wrong way and the better way. So which is very interesting that you did not use the word wrong way and the right way, you used the word wrong way and the better way. So love that pun in there. So so in the so what exactly do you feel like is why are we doing it wrong, which is very important. And another of your posts used the word model as a commodity, which is also a very interesting way to put it together. And I think these language, again, we live in a language, humans are essentially language, and now LLMs are taking over and AI is taking over as our language surrogates, believe it or not. So let's start with that, and then go backwards and explain to the audience that why this concept is so important from what you're describing.
Yeah, I think this context is relevant not only to AI but any clinical solution. Actually, we need to start with the question, with the real goal. Actually, for whom we create this solution, who is the end user, into which decision this solution will support. I can have an idea, but actually, yeah, it can be even a rock of science and a sophisticated model. But if this will not support any relevant decision of my end user, then it will be for nothing, actually. I need to always start with like, why do you want to build this? What is the decision that it will support? How it will support your work? It's like a doctor and so on. For example, the only the measurement or the organ measurement, for the radiologist, it will yeah, itself, the number, the volume, it will give nothing. But for example, the measurement of the lesion, or the total tumor volume, or the differences between scans, and if the patient is progressing or responding, it will give some information, and it can support their work. That's why actually this first question, actually, and thinking about the end user and what are their problems, and if this solution will support, and in which way it will support their work, their problems, and yeah, it should support their decisions. If it's like for pharma, if I think about early clinical development, like clinical scientists, medical doctors, biomarker scientists, how their work look like, what is their way of thinking, how they perform normal their practice during clinical trials, during their research work, and if my solution can help them make it faster, make it easier, faster answer the relevant question, biological or clinical question. And this is something that this model, this solution should should help them, that they want, oh, this is great, I want to use it. And
Beautifully
very
said.
often also I saw that we develop a different solution, but it's like it's not well defined, and it's not designed fit for purpose for the end user. Sometimes it's missing very small part, two or three post-processing step to produce the results in the way that it will be helpful and understandable and usable for them. Because, for example, at pharma, imaging is not so much understandable for much many of people. Yeah, this imaging, but it's so complex data, and not all clinical scientists or biomarker scientists understand really the imaging. But for example, I can produce the AI solutions, a solution based on image, and uh, create an output that will be understandable for them, actually, not like the image like for radiologists, the image with annotation and with measurements, because for clinical scientists, yeah, it's like this image, I'm not imaging scientist, I don't understand it that much. But if I produce the numbers and any graphs or graphics or plots or histograms and so on, and analysis, that will be okay. I see my patient here, they progress here, these parameters go up, here this goes exponential, and so on, here is linear correlation, and so on. This can really help them make the decision if in current
Absolutely.
trial, or to design an analysis or gain insights for the future trials.
Two
Uh,
quotations that I love about this is one from Sergey Brin of Google: if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. But then, more importantly, what to measure is the real question that you're trying to go with. And that's where Harvey Castro start with the end in mind. So he keeps saying that work backwards, work backwards. And and the idea is that, hey, first you need to visualize, as you suggested, like what exactly is the output that is needed for an end goal. You define it properly and you define it clinically with an inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria, whatever that may be. And you actually create backwards, you work backwards and basically understand if we need to actually use what kind of tooling in terms of measurement. Is it a dice score? Is it a mask? Is it something that you need as a heat map? Is it something that it requires clinical judgment, etc.? I love that approach. I think that is something that it also, if you understand the workflow now, and you can build these agentic systems, which one of my AI engineers is going to join in a minute, to show how Save Life AI is doing it. I would love your, Agatha, your opinion on it as well. But that is truly the core benefit that we're looking at. Before I move forward, Ed, thoughts on as as a board member of hospitals and hospital systems, what do you see in currently lacking in terms of this decision judgment? And then what she suggested, a very simple crucial step, which by the way, she's so right, I did the same mistake in Save Life here, just to let you everyone know. Just small stuff that I'm did not encounter, uh, plan for, and then all the downstream work was actually done, not wasted. But again, the idea is that we really need to work with the end in mind. And I think I want your opinion, Ed, on your experience as well in the community, and then of course continue on the conversation with Agatha.
You are on mute.
I think I went the entire year without someone having to tell me I was on mute until now. Almost. I almost made it. As you saw, my dog made a cameo, and so I put everything on mute. But um, we came out with this book back in May. It's a European edition, and it's not a book about AI, but as you might expect, it's about innovation, and the majority of innovation these days, right, are related to AI. But yeah, you got to start with the problem in mind. You know, what decision uh, is being impacted, as opposed to, hey, let's build this new thing, right? And no, so from a board perspective, we'd always ask that question when someone came in to pitch something for a lot of money for some investment. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, but a fair amount of times, it would be more about building something that was pretty cool, as opposed to, wow, what is the question we're trying to answer? What's the problem we're trying to solve? And so you always had to kind of take it back and kind of go backwards. So I definitely like the approach that you're suggesting, and I think the visuals themselves are very well done. Although I'm sure they're AI inspired, being an AI scientist or scientist yourself. So what's I'm curious about, you've been you've been a leader in this realm for some time. What's one thing, I know you might not be able to share everything because of your employer, but what's one thing that you're super proud of, like that you've been able to do so far?
I think this all this work about image infrastructure and data standardization, I think maybe it's not so fancy like all these AI models that we developed and patented, and we had get publication, which were very interesting and nice. But I think this work around the data and data standardization, I'm very proud of, because it's for me kind of the foundation, like for everything. I like this analogy, like you build a house. If you build on the sand, or if you don't have good fundament, you can build one first floor, ground floor, first floor. Yeah, sometimes you are okay, but if there is small storm, then there is if there is small storm, you can put some thing to make it stable, still don't crash, but later in the future, anyway, it will crash. And we had kind of situation like this. But when we stepped back actually and came back to the data foundations and make the data standardization and take a time to standardize a data, and all the way how we transfer the data with format and structure and harmonize and everything, it's actually simplify everything afterwards. And then you can build on the top a lot of AI solution and play and build another floor and make a house very high, even like you build first 5 floors and then in 10 years another 5 floors. If you have strong fundament, then you can play it and you can trust it actually. And this was kind of a game changer, and I got amazing team to work on, and I think this is the project that I'm very proud of, and it brought a value to different part of organization.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. Yeah, you're right. You have to have the right architecture in place and the standards in order to do the things you're doing. Otherwise, like I've been in organizations that I've come into where we were doing a few great things, but they weren't sustainable because there was no structure that you're talking about. So I was like, we have to move, and I think this is true for AI in healthcare in general and in pharma as well. Is we have to move from pockets of excellence. Um, well, we have to move from pockets of brilliance to an enterprise of excellence. Pockets of brilliance to enterprise of excellence, meaning if we want to have everyone enterprise, everyone doing great things and leveraging AI, we have to have that structure so that everyone benefits and there are not these one-off use cases. And what you and your team have done has really helped that way. So I appreciate you sharing all that information so freely on your LinkedIn, which we did post your LinkedIn profile in the comment section for everyone to take a look at and definitely follow you. I had one more question along these same
Yeah,
lines.
but just wanted to add that actually this happened after time, and we had to take this time. We didn't realize that from the beginning. It was kind of the learning curve that it is important, and actually after we cannot go further without stepping back to the foundation and to data standardization. We cannot proceed. But I think like way 7 years ago, like when I started in 2019, we were not aware about this, and this was like early time, all this digitalization and using data and figuring out that data are very useful and we have a lot of data and we can make use of it and so on. Uh, yeah, this required the time, but I think we couldn't do that from the beginning. We were not aware of.
I mean, absolutely amazing stuff. It's kind of important, which brings us to what we have done and why. And that's exactly the follow through. Of course, we're not Roche and we're not as big, but I just want you to understand with the process that we have built is called vision operations. And we have moved from in Save Life AI from building basic image analysis to what we call VLM, which is vision and language model analysis. And then the first step, as you suggested, is essentially creating a dashboard for data cleaning and everything. So for our first project, like everyone does, and we have 16 other projects that we don't want to get into right now, which are company intellectual property, but it's basically simply taking the chest X-ray and making it as a draft, and making a whole chest X-ray as a operational radiology report. So that was the goal. So we defined the goal, and then we defined as you suggested. And I just want people to understand what she's saying and why it is so important in a pure, usable structure. Otherwise, it becomes really hard to visualize this, and it's extremely important lesson that I learned personally as well. So the idea was that the radiologist will be able to see a pre-built completed chest X-ray report, and they will actually review it and then click yes and no and quickly go through this. So this is our data studio, and that's exactly what you suggested. We look at the open source data, then we look at our own data, and then we automatically look at the reports. The radiology reports then become automated extraction in a way that actually takes out all the positive and negative findings. This is again all done automated because we just click, okay, use this data. And once
Once
that
that
is
is
done,
done,
um, then we move on to today's microphone issues are not actually getting better, unfortunately. I don't know what happened with this platform. Um, Sorry. Shahab, can you speak up on this one, what you're showing? I'm sorry.
So hi everyone. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
So this is our data studio basically. And what the part of this data studio is to take any type of raw data and pre-process it and curate it according to what we want in fine tuning. It basically converts it, removes duplicates and every type of processes we need before cleaning the data are defined in our agentic system. Basically, there is a tool for everything. For example, there is a tool for converting DICOM to PNG, what we require in fine tuning. So what we do is we give the raw data to an LLM and it decides that what kind of processes or procedures would need. And it would automatically clean the dataset and even report us about it. Just for example, that the dataset I was showing you was on CXR dataset, chest X-ray. And if I would go into tools, and here we have this ready, and it defined us everything that what kind of score it is, has given to the data set, how many rows he has removed, and which were the faulty images, and everything is done pre-process using an LLM added score. And you can even view the trial and see that how and which steps it performed basically. And when this data is ready, you can also generate labels with the help of its own pipeline that's called auto labeling. And if you will go here, you will see that it has
Let
this
me
image.
explain this. This is one of the biggest innovations and coming out of it is that when we have the AI extracted findings from a radiology report, we have what we call the God mode. And then the God mode is that we use a very large foundation level model to basically, ensure that we actually have the correct findings and it does from imaging to the radiology. And then we use 15 different small models to basically point it out. And again, I don't want to show this over here because I just don't want everyone to know what we are doing just yet. But what I'm saying is that you what you suggested, starting an end in mind, data curation pipeline, data conversion pipeline, data tooling is all automated. From if the data comes from an open source, which can have some major issues, or it comes from our own pipeline, which is our proprietary pipeline of 1.2 million images. And then we actually go back and completely automate the data curation process. And the final is essentially we get three tiers. Tier one is 90% or so above labeled ground truth data, which does not require any radiology or anything input. Harvey, are you looking at this? We basically built a whole MLOps for this. And then we move to the next step, is basically go ahead and show the model training pipeline.
Sure. So this is our model training pipeline here in model ops. And whenever you have to train a model, you just go click at new one. You choose that what type of fine tuning you need. You need SFT, DPO. You choose framework. You choose the model here, and then you would go on, and it is connected to Hugging Face. You can give it any kind of model, VLM, LLM, V models, and it will automatically select the model, and it would tell you how much GPU need, how much time it would take according to the data set, and it will automatically, it has Wannabe integrated within it, and it would even monitor the whole loss function and give you a complete report when the model is saved, where it's saved, where its adapters are saved, was it successful, yes or
Okay.
no, everything
Shahab,
done.
you're giving too much detail out in terms of public information. So what I'm trying to say is that you I just want the audience to understand what Agatha has been talking about and what the industry, at least me and everyone else that I know of, is moving forward. And not to mention the whole LLM pipeline. What we consider this is three major steps. Data curation, when done, of course, that has 17 steps. But once you have the data curation, we have the testing, we have the benchmarking, and the last one, which is the most beautiful one, is auto research. Because the way that we serve fine-tuned models is called LoRa heads, LORA heads, and then we can adopt LoRa heads accordingly. And that what that means is that it can change from, if the modality is chest X-ray, the modality is CT, then chest X-ray, is it the foot or is it the chest, or is it X-ray? What kind of X-ray? Same thing with the CT, and then eventually we're going to come to MRI as well, because what we believe in, one large foundation model, which is great, people believe that, but then you have to have inference costs, you have to understand electricity costs, you have to understand server costs, you have to, like, I don't want to build another Hugging Face, right? So what I'm saying is that you have to understand that inference is also extremely important. And then of course the margin calls, because if I build a model, I don't want to pay everything to Google, so we are building everything inside ourselves to build margins. Anyway, so what Agatha was saying is that focus on the goal. What Hari keeps saying is put an end in mind and then walk backwards. And this is exactly what we did. And then we basically automated the whole process of what Agatha is saying. Because if you don't have the end in mind, we don't have the right measuring tools. If you don't have the right measuring tools, everything else is falling bullshit. Like everything moving forward is bullshit. So going back one more time, testing. So we do baseline testing from a God mode foundation model because that's the one to beat. Then we have to do benchmarking with multiple different models, and then we decide which model we have to fine tune in that particular specific situation. By the way, again, Harvey, I know you're on mute, but we had this discussion last week between Quinn uh, open source models, which we use what we call medium sized models, like 3.6 billion parameters, sorry, 35 billion, 27 billion parameters, or Gemma, which is the Google's, fine tuning, because these are the two open source options that I have. But anyways, I just wanted to put that perspective of hers and make everyone understand that we are putting it in practice. We have been putting it in practice. Of course, it took us some time. So again, um Agatha, thank you for educating again. Roche and everyone else can also look into this automation complete. Once you have the data, we give you all the way complete data and of course models, but more importantly, for the audience to understand that how fast the flywheel is going. It used to take us months to get that grounded data. And now it takes us days, not even days, sometimes hours, because it is going that insane in terms of that. Which brings us to my question, and that a more important question: like, how do you see? Because this is mind-boggling that I'm doing it, sitting in Chicago, a lonely neurologist. So, what do you think is going to be the future is going to look like? I think you're mute right now.
But the future of AI, of healthcare, or
Now that this flywheel is out, when people can build, I mean, it used to be only available to larger corporations with massive amount of people going through this process. And now, startups like me, which is what, a rounding error for large corporations essentially, is able to do so. Now we're looking at, like, it's just mind-boggling. I'm just saying that. I mean, to me, self, like, how am I able to do it? Let alone, I'm grateful to the Lord that I'm able to do it, and we're gonna save lives as our company stands. But what would you see the future of AI, and how would you do that precision? What do you look at the vision of precision medicine? Finally, that we have this flywheel, and then what does the future look like to you?
yeah, first of all, I strongly believe in precision medicine and personalized healthcare. I think that's definitely the way to go, and we are slowly, faster or slower, going in that direction, because the time where we had a drug and it is working for everybody, I think this will not come anymore, especially to oncology, to any advanced therapies, which are very expensive, and even it's also affect the patient body and so on. Then I strongly believe that we should give the right drug and right therapy to the right patient, and in this direction, and in personalized healthcare, definitely AI solution will play a crucial role. And yeah, I think without AI solution we cannot go further. And I think this is the future of medicine and personalized healthcare. AI dedicated solution to support decision making, to support like patient stratification, therapy response prediction. Uh, yeah, that's my my answer for this question. I think very broad. I will not go to the details because we can talk for hours, but I
I
think
love it. No,
that's
so
the
you're right.
future.
I mean, it's a very un. So let me clarify this, and I'm gonna put this question to Ed first. So Ed, let me tell you a study first. So the study is of large language foundation models, and then they basically gave a bunch of images from radiology, and they asked a question with images and without images to basically create a report or a prediction. And interestingly, without even providing the images, the report was the same. Essentially, they use the term not even hallucination, that uses the term mirage. And the mirage was that hey, they are actually looking at the images. It took us a lot of time to engineer AI models out of this mirage. By the way, it takes like insane amount of time for us to engineer out of it, which is again was a real challenge that we solved. But what I'm saying is that that's number one, which brings us very interesting point. The learning of that study was that the clinical data that they had access to, the patient's cough, the patient's saturation numbers, the patient's, I don't know, Apple Watch and Google Watch and whatever, was so crucial in understanding. And as a matter of fact, it was freaking interesting that they don't even look at the chest x-ray and predicted the pneumonia without it. So what I'm saying is that we always talk about these data silos, and then of course we always talk about Harvey is in and out today, but he talks about AI governance. What do you see when you take this information as a board member, and then you need to evaluate these multi-million dollar deals which you're going to get save life into? What I'm saying is that how do you actually talk to board members and other internal evaluators of studies that this complexity, like, I'm just going to be honest with you, there are people who are building solution who doesn't even read some of these clinical studies and mirage effect and all of that. So go ahead, just your comments.
Well, first on the last question to Agata is like in the and I think in the age that we are in, asking for a 5-year prediction is not wise. I'm always like 1 year. We're good if we can get 70%. I think of what might happen in the next year. It's kind of funny because I still see health systems. So Agata, I mostly work on the health system side, not life sciences. So I don't know what it's like on life sciences, but in health systems, they're still crafting 5-year plans, which kind of makes me giggle because they have no idea. No one does what's going to be going on 5 years. So I always tell people to have you know, a year plan and continuously iterate on the
Yeah.
plan. Um, so yeah. So to your Janae, to your larger question, I I can't mention the health system because I just don't know if it's public and if anyone wants it to be public. But what I love, and I was invited to be part of this, so they're taking the board to their primary electronic health record vendor campus and doing a visit. Um, and why are they doing that? To educate the board, to learn. And they're going to learn about all of the types of things we're talking about. And it's like an immersive experience. And that's what I that's what I always encourage, Junaid, is like, because yeah, you have to make these tough decisions, and they're smart people typically on a board, but this is brand new territory for 95% of them. And so you have to create immersive experiences. Like I love to climb mountains, so I've climbed the highest 5 of the 7 highest peaks in the world. And like I love like before I take on the Matterhorn or the Eiger or the Jungfrau, my favorite mountains in Switzerland, I'm going to do an immersive experience in Mount Rainier in Washington, which is a great sort of uh, step trial, pilot, test, if you will, before I take on something like that. And so I think that's what leaders have to do is not just, boards, but the C-suite of these organizations. You have to have an immersive experience. It's not good enough to watch a YouTube video how to climb, or watch the Eiger sanction. It's not going to help you get to the top. We literally had executives use a green screen behind them pretending they were climbing a mountain. That's how I got into mountain climbing in the very beginning. I won't go further in that story because it's not germane to our topic, but that's what got me into it. I was like, oh my gosh, they're talking about climbing a mountain in our strategy and they're using a green screen. It's like, no. So you gotta be immersive. So I applaud this health system that is taking their team to their number one vendor, if you will. And I used to do the same thing as a C-suite member, where I would take once a year. We would go to our 5 main strategic partners, Junaid, and Agatha and Harvey, and so we would learn from them and connect on a higher level. So you have to do the immersive experience in order to truly understand. So, Junaid, I hope that answered your question.
No, love it. And Agatha, that's why we bring this together is for people to understand from a technologist. And then, by the way, Harvey Castro is an emergency physician, medicine, and he is also part of Phantom Space. And then, of course, your guests like you educate the whole community and exemplify what we are trying to do from all stakeholders because people forget it's a multi-stakeholder game. Harvey is back in his car. Harvey, the mic is yours.
Honor to be here. Thank you so much for coming. And sorry I missed it. I had my annual physical, so I had to go see the doctor. Unfortunately, I almost moved it, but it went well.
So I hope you did not miss the ML Ops, but I think we're going to set up a separate meeting for you to sort of show off the what we internally call the ML Ops for whole complete vision. So Agatha, moving to the next question, and then I talked about precision medicine, and we talked about data silos. Give us an idea about Switzerland's infrastructure, because in here in US we are I have no idea. There are 500 at least EMRs that I know of. 500. There's no single data source for radiology or anything. So show people and make us jealous that how Switzerland is ahead of us in terms of data aggregation, so that these tooling can actually really distribute fast, improve patient lives much faster than what we have designed here.
I think Switzerland healthcare system and all here is private. There is no public. Then for everything you need to pay. This is the main difference. To answer for your question, to be honest, I haven't used that much the Switzerland healthcare system, and I'm not but I visited several sites for work. I think this digitalization is going in good direction. Also, they are using AI solution, what I have seen in some practice, radiological practice or hospitals, and they are very advanced and open for technology. But yeah, like yesterday, I was in Germany at hospital, and there are a lot of like paperwork. We are talking about AI, but there is another huge work still to do. Not especially in AI, but in digitalization. Yeah.
So just to give you my experience a little bit, I have been approached by countries from Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, and of course, we have been in contact with Qatar and everyone. I think you're absolutely right. The core difference between public and private, at least in terms of reimbursement, makes a huge difference where the data lies. What happens is that at some point in time, the data essentially becomes the core value proposition. And of course, since there's policy level control um, on the data itself is essential. And I understand that people keep talking about and add your opinion on it. Is it really the private and the public? Because all banks are private, but it's so easy to move money. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? So having said that, Ed, you have been traveling. Harvey, I don't know if you can hear in. What are your thoughts on this, so that we can, in terms of Singapore experience of yours and everything, so that audience can understand? And does it feel like at some point in time we're going to make that progress in the U.S.?
Well, I'll jump in first. So, when we did this book, we had 25 of the 42 European countries participate. Um, and so I got a little bit of a glimpse. Obviously, it's not a complete volume, but I got a little bit of glimpse. I think everyone struggles just like the United States. Even in countries where medicine is sort of socialized, if you will, public. Even in those countries, there's lots of silos that remain. Now, there are maybe a couple of handful of countries that are super small. Singapore, Harvey could speak to, that have a lot of government control and can, top down do a lot of things to try to make it tighter. But by and large, most countries are very similar to the United States, separate data pools. And then even in the countries which are heavily, again, I don't mean it in a negative, in a political term, but socialized, they're also spawning private alternatives. England, great example. Canada, great example. Switzerland, I know. I think every country I know where there's public health system that's pervasive and available to all citizens, there's a private underground that people are utilizing because of dissatisfaction with the public systems. So there's no perfect solution, but it would be nice, whether it was public or private, that all data would be shared.
So now coming back to Agatha, you again, and then now you have designed a system which is for a private company, which is fair. I will not put you at fault on that. I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is that let's assume you are now officially the health minister of Switzerland. How would you drive the policy so that you can drive this new innovation for data, for basically, a continuous learning process at a country level?
The country, I think I heard also, I forgot to mention about the initiative in Switzerland, but I'm not like on it really, that that there is they are working about the database with the data set of the patient that will be available somehow for research purpose, anonymized of course, and there are several conditions like to drive the innovation in healthcare in Switzerland. And I would imagine as well kind of database with anonymized, of course, under restricted use, under right governance, actually that we can make use of this data to shape the future of innovation of healthcare and drive uh, the medicine in good direction, that we improve patient life and make an impact in healthcare, because just keeping a data set sitting without using and making the bigger storage and so on, this is for nothing. If we can use it for good, then let's do it and make it available, of course under several conditions for the right people to make use of it, research institutions or maybe also private to drive the innovation and shape the future. You
Ed,
are
same question to you. You are now officially head of Health and Human Services in United States. What would you do first?
Sorry, that was a general. That you're talking about generally. Um, yeah, I would do whatever I can to make healthcare available to everyone, and I don't know what the
No,
solution is.
more towards the data silos and research and all of that from a
Yeah, the
digital
government
perspective.
is doing what the government does, and that's create a lot of rules and regulations, to try to force people and organizations to share data. And I ran into something super interesting this morning, but it was like 4:30 this morning, and I kind of forgot how they described it. But they were basically, it's a famous theory where eventually the more rules and regulations you have, the the entities that you're trying to control with those actually become the drivers of those regulations. It was super, super interesting. I wish I could give credit to where I read it, but it was super. I woke up super early this morning, and so I just got up and I was on the treadmill and I was reading a few things, and that was one of these theories. And they gave some examples how that's happened, and I was like, wow, that really does happen. So, so you have to be really careful. So back to your question, like, what would you do? Man, I hate to have a bunch of rules and regulations. I think I would just come get rid of all of them and come up with one. Like, if you don't share, you're we're gonna, put you out of bit. You can't do business. You have to share. And there's so many data silos that exist today because of competitive reasons and different different reasons. I don't want to get into it right in this particular show, but I think you almost have to make it happen. You have to take a heavier hand and make it happen because we've been playing around with this for years and years. And who loses? The patients. Patients die. People die because we don't share the right data, and that's criminal.
So true. Boeing is an amazing example of this. If you don't know, FAA is basically run by Boeing. If you let's just be honest. And same thing is, I don't know if you guys remember, we had so many rules in developing anti-stark and anti-kickback laws, which ended up creating a whole industry of what we call MSO, which is basically to circumvent those rules. So both of Edwards is absolutely right. One, over-regulation leads to industry regulation. Beautifully said. And we'll find someone and then and put it in the show notes and our stuff. And then secondly, over-regulation does not mean that people are not going to foul play. So there is a percentage of foul play that you have to expect, from policing to everything. I mean, government is like that, unfortunately. We just have to find the right balance, and the right balance in today's days technology is that, in my opinion, forced sharing, but make the patient own its own records at the end of the day. There's just no other way around it, in my opinion. And as you are, guardians of your bank accounts, you're guardians of your healthcare accounts, in terms of data. I believe that is the process. I'm extremely grateful to Agatha. I apologize to the audience today for technical difficulties. We're going to bring back Agatha one more time. And then once we publish a whole clinical system through our internal vision operations and ML ops, then we can actually show and tell to everyone that how this is the future. And then what I see in terms of this precision medicine is that we're not going to just bring it to a vast radiology imaging centers, but we're going to give it to Ed, and then it will be essentially trained on Ed's data, consistently and constantly. And that's where I personally believe the future is. And we are marching towards it super fast. And you saw the example that what we're building at Save Life AI. Again, this is now, in my opinion, not only possible, but we can send Ed a $500 to $600 box where his AI is completely private in his house also, and he can actually decide who he wants to share with. And again, acting as a patient over here in general. Again, I'm grateful to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Agatha, for joining us all the way from Switzerland. We'll call you back. Have a nice day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me